Real Enigmas and Theories is back again with another video. Hey yo, we're gonna get into this esoteric breakdown for episode 308. But before we do that, go ahead and hit that like button, share this video, get ready to drop down in the comments, all that good YouTube stuff, just to let everybody know that you're here and you're rocking with the Real Enigmas and Theories. Let's cook. Okay, so in my esoteric breakdown of episode 4, I said this. Hey, yo, what if Henry sent Miranda to Frumlin in the first place? That's just a thought. Anyway, you didn't come here for that. You came here for the esoteric breakdown. And it seems that Victor has a conflicting story with his father's account on how Miranda knew about the mangy kids. I found it strange how he said the boy in white lured Tabitha to the tower, and she immediately corrected him. Moreover, after calling her mother, the chances of the authorities catching on to a missing woman whose return without her missing family had increased. This is information that Tabitha gave to the priest. That priest is the reason that she noticed Victor's address in the lunchbox. How did he know the baby's gender in the first place? I mean, she said the baby fell off the changing table, but she did not specify if it was a boy or a girl. And why in the hell would he be interested in what the snack was provided in the lunchbox by Victor? I think that he knew the time was ticking since Tabitha had called her mom, and that he needed her to see the address in the box sooner than later. He probably had something to do with the accident as well, but who knows? And then Henry having that blue song and the bracelet in the car was just too convenient. Having those bandages in the kitchen was also too convenient. I don't know, but between Victor's memory and Henry's story not adding up, along with Tabitha walking right past the same ambulance that ends up bringing her back into Frumlin, I don't know, y'all. You gotta be lucky enough to shit in a swinging bucket to make that happen. Shit, next time you get out of Frumlin, don't go to a priest. Go buy a Powerball ticket. And speaking of games, it feels like the writers are cheating or they're rigging the game, as Donna would say. Back in late June of 2023, I asked these questions in a previous video. Here's something else I noticed. If Chris was the guy that did something that resulted in many people being killed, then why would Victor put Eloise's drawings in the trunk of that man's car? This is the guy who your mother told you to hide from. Are there any details about Chris that he may have made himself forget, like with Eloise? Also, if the last time Victor saw his mother and sister was in the root cellar, when did Eloise tell Victor his mother went to the bottle tree? The first question is, why would Victor put Eloise's drawings in the back of Christopher's car? And could that be the reason that he forgot something about this dude? The second question is, how did Eloise tell Victor where his mother went if she left behind her? What'd she do? Run back and tell him and then leave again? But now he recalls him telling his mother about the kids in the tower. But your father says that she already knew about the kids in the tower. I call bullshit on that the moment that Victor said Eloise told him his mother went in the bottle tree. Told me and went to are both past tense. Now I can understand if you forgot some details, but to add Eloise as the person who told you about your mother went into the tree, when she didn't even have anything to do with that transfer of information, puzzles me. So now let's talk about time traveling Julie. We seen her travel to 4 different times. The first going back to when she herself was trapped in the dungeon with Mari and Randall. The second was when she went back to when Boyd was trapped in the well with Martin at the top. Then she goes through the door, which takes her to the tunnels for some strange reason. And her third travel back was when she hears her mom and Victor briefly in the tunnels. Then the fourth time when she hears the children saying Aunt Cooey and she hears them screaming. So what does this word Ankui mean if they were saying it while they were screaming and probably being tortured and sacrificed? I also noticed something strange about the promo photos from 308 and the actual episode 308 that we saw. There are a few photos that weren't in the episode at all, so why'd they show them to us? A couple of the photos show Julie with no coat and the torches aren't lit. And there's one of the photos with her coat on when she's about to exit the door and the torches aren't lit there either. And none of those pictures were actually seen in the actual episode, so was it a mistake or what? Moreover, notice how the rope is on the edge of the well when she first enters the dungeon. Now, when she first enters the dungeon, this is her going back to the time where Mari, Randall, and Julie are all chained up, which is after Boyd climbs up the rope. Now that we have the question of who threw the rope down answered, who pulled it back up and lays it on the well? Not only that, when Julie threw the rope down, she picks it up off the ground. Also, in season 2, the torch next to Martin was not lit, but when Julie encounters Martin, it's lit. Now, Martin, Julie, Boyd, and the torch bring me right back to those Shakespearean nuances and connections. I've mentioned these in previous videos. Martin even speaks about the slow walkers being the tip of the spear, as in Shakespeare. And when he said this in the show, it was meant to imply that the monsters were not the most dangerous threat. And from what we have seen, this is true with more threats other than the slow walkers. I mean, you got the cicadas, the spoiling crops, strange pregnancies, wild things knocking outside of the cabins. You have the haunting of Elgin with the kimono lady. You got more stuff. I mean, yeah, things, do seem to be bad out there, and the slow walkers don't seem to be the most dangerous thing. However, when you look at the phrase tip of the spear, it derived from military terminology and represents the most advanced part of combat formation. The tip of the spear is the point that makes first contact with the enemy or the target. Not only that, in the military world, tip of the spear is considered to be the most dangerous position when used in its proper military context. And being that Martin was a Marine, he would have definitely known that. Not only that, that's probably what he meant. And if we think about those lines again in that context, that means that the slow walkers could probably play a huge part in the initial resistance, being so that they're called the tip of the spear. I don't know, maybe it could be some weird form of gallows humor, because we see a lot of gallows humor all over the show. Jade talks about turning over a few stones and then he finds a dude under a large boulder. Kelly walks into the bar and says that there are worse places to get stuck, and then she ends up stuck to a tree. Boyd says we have concrete proof, and Dale ends up stuck in the concrete pool. Boyd even says he was stuck in a chimney, damn near killed himself. Now, gallows humor is literally taking a dark subject matter into an irreverent tone to emotionally distance from the irony of the situation.
I saw my wife last night. How'd she look?
You died, correct? Okay. We just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
I mean, gallows humor is everywhere on this show. Even when you think about hangings in the gallows and humor, back in season 1 in episode 9 where Eric roped himself up in the post office, here's what the girl said.
Fine. He was making jokes about the tower.
Now let's look back at the rope in the dungeon. Better yet, look at the drawing frame for the well. It looks just like the clothesline up at Colony House. And at first glance, they look like regular farm-style scaffolding. But they also put me in the mind of a game called Hangman, which also bears medieval execution symbolism. Each wrong letter or answer or decision gets them closer to their demise. Think about it. There was a time when these types of executions served as some sort of public spectacle. and they were a warning to the other people, much like how the bodies in Frumlin are left out in the open and on display for the other people. Even the bodies of Julie, Randall, and Maury were left for the rest to see, while they were somehow astrally projected to that dungeon in another time. And Julie returning to different points in time proves that not only there's time travel, but the mind can be taken to another place other than the actual physical body, some sort of astral projection or dream state. Now, I've been saying this since last year that I believe that the whole interaction with Martin was some sort of dream where he was able to bring out with him the torch and even that cut on his arm, much like the burn mark on Kenny's arm and the water that Elgin brought back in his lungs. I even thought that the bracelet found in the diner may have entered Frumlin the same way. And seeing Tabitha find a bracelet in Henry's hoopty and him saying that Miranda made it for him kind of turns this theory into a different direction. However, it also makes me wonder if Jim lost the bracelet on his trip to the bar, and who was the bartender that poured his drink. Also, I found it strange for Henry to feel the need for Jim to reenact his whole sitting in front of the drink in such a ritualistic manner, even to go far as saying that Jim was renewing his vows, which is a ritual. And while we're talking about rituals, let's go over the symbology of the grand drape again that I talked about. I pointed this out in my previous exoteric breakdowns. Notice I said exoteric. I show the Masonic gestures of Ellis in this scene in front of the grand drapes, and the hand gesture that mirrored Victor's hand gesture also in front of the grand drapes. Now, this connection right here should have jumped right out to me, but it didn't until I saw Julie time traveling. The connection should have hit me, being that I've been talking about these two scenes for a whole year, focused on certain aspects and curious about the timing of what it meant. These two scenes right here are what made me notice the divine feminine, the Vesica Pisces references, the ovum, and mostly the egg and fertility symbolism. My original theory was that Tabitha would make contact with Julie while she was on the outside. And these two scenes were also referenced in the same episode, 305. Julie's recollection when she was stealing Fatima's weed, and when all the Matthews were back together for the first time. Tabitha is talking about the other scene with her waking up in the hospital.
It was, it was scary. Waking up in the hospital, not knowing if it was real or if I was still dreaming. Real or if I was still dreaming. Real.
Tabitha pulling the curtain to the left to see the sun, and the curtain being pulled to the right for Julie to see the moon. This had me thinking that there would be a connection to Julie from the outside from Tabby, especially when Victor wrapped up that snack with the drawing of Julie that they never opened or never revisited. But then they brought Tabby back before we even got to the mid-season. However, now we see Julie walking through time. I bet that that's what this connection was pointing to the whole time. I mean, why were these scenes mirroring each other? And why would he wrap up a snack with a picture of Julie? That made no sense, other than the fact that there would be something with Julie later on. I mean, since we're talking about the grand drape, we can even put these two scenes together and you can see the grand drape is here as well. Tabitha is even holding a rod or a staff that's literally connected to her bloodline via the IV in her hand. And Victor and Ellis do the same hand gesture. The word gesture literally derives from the word jari, which means to carry or bear. This word is also connected to the word gestate, which refers to the carrying of offspring during pregnancy, which is also a trait of the divine feminine. Hand gestures and the lack thereof are deliberate throughout this entire show. Donna's hands always being in her pocket is surely a directed posture. You have Boyd's deliberate hand gestures. I've pointed out Victor's and Randall's before. And even this pose with Tabitha is reminiscent of the chironomia sphere, which is used in the study of hand gestures. We even see the boy in white perform or gesture the plura or peora sign when he was talking to Christopher. And when he does it, it's clearly a directed motion. Check it out. Chironomia is the study of hand gestures in human communication and oration, and it actually led to the creation of sign language. It was pioneered by John Bulwer, who named the art after his adopted daughter, Chirothea Johnson. His official title at the time of his death was chirosopher, and he was also a contemporary of Shakespeare. This also brings us to chiromancy, which is the art of fortune telling by using the lines on the palm of your hand. Just like the ventriloquist doll is a reference to necromancy. We see Jade's vision or astral projection happen when he placed his palm on the tree. Then he sees the Civil War soldier. But this vision only ended when Jim placed his palm on Jade's chest. And here's another shot of Jim and Jade. Tabitha also has an experience when her palm is on Victor's arm. But you know, like the old saying goes, the future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Anyway, that's the esoteric breakdown for episode 303. If you rock with the channel, hit that like button, share the video, drop down in the comments to give me your thoughts on this video, and let's get ready for episode 309. Anyway, just a little something to think about while we wait on the next episode. That's all for my video today. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.